USC and Penn State are sitting at opposite ends of the college football playoff table and the college football playoff scenarios here in this rivalry weekend for the Nittany Lions. A win clinches that home playoff game, locks that up, a spot that they're in right now if they can take care of business against the Maryland Terrapins. And for USC, they could play the ultimate spoiler, send the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame outside of the first round, outside of South Bend in the first round, and maybe outside of the college football playoff altogether if the Cardinal and Gold can pull that upset inside the Coliseum on Saturday. We've got a USC Notre Dame preview, Penn State, Maryland, and then picking every single game on the last week of the regular season.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It is the greatest time of the year. We are wrapping up the college football regular season. Man, it seems like just yesterday I was on the top of Mount Rainier where I got this t-shirt and we were talking about college football playoff previews, and now we're at the end of the regular season talking about the college football playoff. Let's start first in Los Angeles, California. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, ranked 5th in the latest CFP rankings, go on the road to the Coliseum in LA to take on these Trojans that are bowl eligible. They sit there at 6-5. What do we know about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? They are in love with the run game. And when I say love, I mean Jeremiah Love. This is a three-headed monster in this run game when you include quarterback Riley Leonard in the conversation as well. Jadarian Price certainly has had his fair share of carries this season. Notre Dame runs the ball as good as anybody in the country. They've got a really good offensive line up front. They're 11th in the country, 11th in FBS in rushing offense, and they are 2nd in the Power 4 in rushing this season. They have rushed for over 2,400 yards this season. They are 3rd in all of FBS in rushing touchdowns. If they can line up and do their thing and play within their comfort zone and be physical and run the football, I think USC is going to have a tough time. Because if Notre Dame can line up and do that and they can impose their will up front, USC is going to get worn down as this game goes along. They are going to be out there, the defense I'm talking about for the Trojans, they are going to be out there for long periods of time. So USC, Danton Lynn, they got to find a way to buck up at the line of scrimmage. They got to find a way to halt this run game, force Riley Leonard to be able to make some plays down the field. Now, Riley is an experienced quarterback. He can make plays down the field, but we know Notre Dame is a run-first offense, but that's the situation where USC wants to get in. They have to play well against the run on the early down, specifically first down, because if Notre Dame can get you to like 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 4 and really rattle off big chunk yardages on first down, that's where their offense really hums. That's where they want to get as an offense because they can do so many things. They can do play action. They can do short passing game with Riley Leonard. They can continue to run the football. They can go inside. They can go outside. They can do anything on offense. So in the early downs, USC has to stop the run. They're probably going to have to dedicate more resources up to stop these great Notre Dame running backs and to be able to stop this Notre Dame run game. But really, I talked about the offensive line for the Irish. Really, that's where it all starts, getting the push. And then, of course, you have that talent that I've certainly talked about. Now, USC played a good defensive game last week against UCLA, but this was a UCLA team that was towards the bottom of the barrel, not only in the Big Ten. They were dead last in the Big Ten in rushing, but in all of college football. TJ Harden rushed for nearly 100 yards on the ground last week, and he hadn't really done that a lot against a lot of opponents. So this is a USC front. This is a USC defense that's got to pitch close to a perfect game, I think, to be able to hang around in this game. USC is 43rd against the run. I've said it before. I've really said it all season long. Danton Lynn has done a really good job. Now, have they kind of been a little bit shorthanded? Have they had some injuries? Yeah, you had Anthony Lucas. He got hurt. Of course, we know what happened with Bear Alexander in the middle of the season. So the depth may be waning a little bit, but This is going to be a great test, a great challenge, a great measuring stick just to see how far USC's defense and USC's front has really come this season. You flip over to the other side of the ball, USC as a whole, as a team, but definitely their offense is Woody's world. And when we talk about Woody, of course, we're talking about Woody Marks. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's the guy that really makes this offense go for USC. And you need to get him involved in a variety of ways. Of course, he's the first 1,000-yard back for USC since Ronald Jones. You need to get him involved up the middle, to the perimeter, and then he also does a great job catching the ball out of the backfield as well. You need to mix it up. You need, and this goes for USC's offense as a whole against the Notre Dame defense. You need to continue to keep them off balance if you become predictable on the offensive side of the ball. And sometimes this year, that's happened with Lincoln Riley, right, where they're not running the ball as much as they should, and what they're doing on offense in terms of the pass game becomes a little bit predictable. So they need to be able to mix things up, and kind of like how they're playing on defense, they need to be able to get good yardage on first down, because you get this team into with some third and long situations. I think that's where the defensive line for Notre Dame, a very good Notre Dame defensive line, can really pin the rears back, and they can certainly wreak havoc. When you talk about that Notre Dame defensive line, you got to be able to contain Riley. Mills, 6.5 sacks. He leads Notre Dame up front. Howard Cross is another great player up front for the Irish. He's been battling some injury stuff. TBD whether he's going to be able to go against the USC Trojans. Now, when I'm watching this USC-UCLA game from last week, Jaden Maiava, kind of a bigger frame, the way he was kind of running around and creating some Maiava magic back there, it reminded me a little bit of Caleb Williams, right? Of course, a lesser version of Caleb Williams. Can Jaden Maiava create some big plays by extending the play, and kind of running around and working on the move? And USC might want to get him certainly on the move, because I'm not sure if USC is going to be able to pass protect consistently against this really good Notre Dame defensive line. And long developing routes down the field may not be the greatest option as well. Now, I know Benjamin Morrison got hurt in the Notre Dame secondary earlier this season, but this is still a really good secondary for Notre Dame. Look, Notre Dame hasn't played the most explosive offenses in college football. You look at their schedule from top to bottom, it's not great. It's not the most outstanding schedule, but Notre Dame has allowed the least amount of passing yards this season, just over 1,500 yards. Nobody does it better than the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So I think for USC, what does that mean for USC? I talked about getting Woody Marks involved in the pass game, catching the ball out of the backfield. I think you want to try to get rid of the football quickly, right? I think you want to be able to get those short routes and be able to kind of get some catch and run type of situations. I think that really plays into what Woody Marks does. I think that plays into what Zachariah Branch can do. I think that plays into what Makai Lemon can do, who has emerged as the top target for USC a little bit later on, certainly this season. All right, folks, it is prediction time. I just think Notre Dame is going to make this game very physical, and USC has improved on defense, right? They've improved from a physical standpoint. They had a long way to go, right? The bar was set pretty low. They've improved, but I think Notre Dame is just going to be too much in this game. I could see USC maybe making some plays early on, but when we talk about a 60-minute game, I think the Irish just have too much. I've got Notre Dame 31 and USC 20. I'm not as confident that USC is going to play spoiler, but what about in a Big Ten versus Big Ten conference game in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania? The 4th-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions take on the Maryland Terrapins, even though it is rivalry week. Folks, this is not a rivalry. This is a series between two Eastern teams, because these two teams have been matching up for some time. Great. When Penn State was an Eastern Independent before they joined the Big Ten in the early 90s, these two teams faced off fairly often, and it's been all blue and white. This has been as lopsided of a series as you are going to see, and when they have met up since Maryland joined the Big Ten in 2014, it has been lopsided, not only in the wins and losses column, but on the scoreboard as well. And the quarterback situation for Maryland is going to do them no favors. Billy Edwards, I thought, has played pretty good at the quarterback position for the Terps this season, but he went out in their last game. He kind of got banged up. MJ Morris saw the field a little bit, and MJ Morris was talked about in a positive light before the season. I actually thought he might win the quarterback job coming into the season for the Terrapins, but they ended up going with Billy. Like I said, he played pretty well this season, but when MJ has seen the field this year, he hasn't certainly been as good. I think what Maryland needs to try to do early on in this football game is attack this Penn State secondary, right? They have a really good option, the Big Ten's leading receiver right now in Ty Felton, so they need to try to hit big explosive plays. This is not a Maryland offensive line that's not going to be able to match up with Penn State. They're not going to be able to run the football with Roman Hemby and some of their backs back there, so they need to try to get over the top and get kind of some of these shocking plays early, catch Penn State a little bit lulling early on in this game, because Penn State has been known to maybe start a little bit slow at times this season. And if you are the Penn State Nittany Lions, take care of business, and on Thanksgiving, you don't want to play with your food. You want to gobble that up right away. So the Nittany Lions get out to a strong start in this game. Maryland gives up the most passing yards in the Big Ten this season. I think Drew Aller can certainly build a lot of confidence in this game. And the wide receivers can build a lot of confidence in this game by hitting some big plays. Look at what they were able to do against Washington. Look at what they were able to do against Purdue. I think Penn State can have a great time. I think Penn State can be extremely explosive in this game. I think the only thing Maryland has is their wide receiver in Felton out on the outside. So Penn State's just got to know where he is at all times in all these plays. Otherwise, I think Penn State, get out to a strong start, finish the job, build a lot of confidence going into the college football playoff. You didn't have a great showing against Minnesota. You won by the slimmest of margins. Okay, so you want to be able to flip that. You don't want to have two questionable games in a row going into the college football playoff. You want to be able to flip that. You want to be able to get out to a fast start, and you want to be able to keep it rolling. So when you go into the college football playoff next week, you're feeling like $1 million. All right, prediction time. I think Penn State's going to be feeling like $1 million. I've got the Nittany Lions 38 and the Maryland Terrapins 7. Penn State dominates to finish 11-1. That leads us to my Week 14 picks. We are wrapping it all up here. A lot of these I've covered already in extensive previews. The Black Friday games, I've got Minnesota and Wisconsin going over the game total, over that 41.5. Gophers 27, Badgers 23 in that matchup. Minnesota ends the 22-year bowl streak of the Wisconsin Badgers. Also on Black Friday, we've got the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I've got Nebraska just barely covering plus 3.5. This one is historically a close game. I think this is going to be it yet again. It depends how you view this game. Do you think Iowa can control the line of scrimmage and run the football, or do you think Nebraska can stop that and hit some big plays over the top of this Iowa secondary? I think that even though Nebraska's offense looked good last week, I think Iowa is just going to make it an Iowa game. I think that they're going to have a lot of success running the ball. They've been really good at Kinnick Stadium this season. I've got the Hawkeyes 20 and the Cornhuskers 17. I've got Ohio State and Penn State covering some big-time point spreads. Buckeyes covering the minus 21, 35-10 over Michigan. It wouldn't surprise me if this game is fairly close early on, but over a four-quarter game, Buckeyes just too strong and too explosive. And then I just talked about Penn State covering the minus 24.5, 38-7 over there. How about Illinois at Northwestern? This is a great opportunity for the Illini to cap off a great season, the best season in recent memory for the Illini. Look, they're playing at Wrigley Field, and Wrigley Field is a notorious slow track. You don't, because of the grass and how the field conditions really are. I don't anticipate, when teams go and play at Wrigley Field, I don't anticipate them having their best offensive output. I think the Illini and Northwestern go under because of that, under the 43.5. I've got Illinois 28 and Northwestern 14. Talked about Notre Dame and USC earlier in this preview. Notre Dame covers the minus 7.5, 31-20 over the Trojans. USC finishes a disappointing 6-6. This is an interesting one. Rutgers at 6-5, Michigan State at 5-6. I think that this is going to be a close game. I got this one going under the game total of 47.5, but I think Michigan State pulls it out. Right? They're a 1.5-point favorite right now at home, so the spread is really close between these two teams. I think Aiden Childs can make some plays against this Rutgers defense. I've got Michigan State 24, Rutgers 21. They both finished 6-6. Big bowl eligibility win for Jonathan Smith and the green and white. You know, this Oregon-Washington game, the line has been shifting a little bit more towards the Washington Huskies, so I might be going a little bit overboard on the score right now, but I've got the Ducks winning by 31. They exercise the demons on the Washington Huskies. Ducks just too much in too many different places. 41-10, Oregon wins, and I've got that by a half a point going over the 50.5. Indiana brings back the old Oaken bucket. They cover another big, I got all these big spreads being covered, so maybe I should be a little bit nervous about that. Indiana covers the -29. I've got them winning 45-13 over the Purdue Boilermakers. And then we've got UCLA, just an 8-point favorite against Fresno State. I've got them covering by a point, 30-21, UCLA over Fresno State. Now, UCLA's passing defense is not great. Fresno State with Mikey Keene can move the football down the field, as Michigan learned a little bit in the opening week of the season, all the way back in September. So we'll see how this one goes. This could be a little bit tricky out there in Los Angeles, but I've got UCLA winning 30-21 in that matchup. Folks, can you believe it? We are here at the end of the regular season. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We're going to be talking to you on Black Friday. We're going to be talking to you this weekend, and then we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage of the Big Ten championship game as we look forward to Indianapolis. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.